Joe Siracusa is the Dean of Global Futures and the Faculty of Humanities at Curtin University, speaking to us from Perth in Australia. Joe, always good to speak to you. So what's the message do you think the US is trying to send here to China in particular? I mean, this is the first time that foreign leaders are being hosted at Camp David in several years.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. Look, the reason that the Biden administration hasn't hosted any major foreign leaders at Camp David, which in my lifetime has seen many great events take place there, is because Biden's foreign policy is a little thin on the ground. He hasn't done anything with North Korea, nothing with Iran. China won't answer the phone, and he's in a proxy war with Russia. So he's rolling the dice here to see if he can sort of institutionalize this trilateral relationship. Now, the United States is hoping that they can sort of build up some kind of area of containment or put some facts on the ground so the Chinese might lower their the temperature a little bit in the South China Sea and the East China Sea. And I noticed the American spokesman said this has got nothing to do with China. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's all about China. I mean, the United States worries about China. That's its next conflict, so to speak. And the Japanese worry a great deal about China. And of course, the South Koreans worry a great deal about North Korea, which, of course, is a loose cannon. You know, your previous speaker, gentleman, said that he is hoping that maybe there could be pressure on China, could put pressure on the Russians. China can't put pressure on the North Koreans. I mean, no one's listening to them. They all kind of do their own thing. The very interesting thing, I think, is they're trying to set up some kind of NATO-like alliance to put things, to carve things in stone, so the next administration, maybe even the Trump administration, cannot reverse direction. So they're trying to put some facts on the ground. They're trying to institutionalize the relationship. They're trying to bring their armies and navies together so that they can act as one, be interoperable. I mean, this is Biden's attempt to put some foreign policy runs on the board.
But Joe, this NATO-like alliance you speak of, this is exactly what China doesn't want. They've actually warned about this forming of blocs in the region. So how do you think China is going to react to it?
Well, China's naturally going to oppose this. I mean, the Biden administration has a little trouble reading people's red lines. There are certain red lines you do not cross, both with the Russians and the Chinese and other people, and the Americans too. I mean, you don't put foreign troops in Canada or Mexico, or you'll be at war Monday morning. And so Biden is once again ignoring the red lines. And I tend to be a realist. He tends to lead with human rights. And of course, by the time he gets human rights in these kinds of places, the world will have, turned to ice or something like that. Look, he's using the wrong approach here. He should approach the Chinese with a little less provocation. Now, the Chinese act up in the East China Sea and the South China Sea, but they don't have attack ships with Marines on it ready to hit the beaches. I mean, to say that the Chinese are a immediate threat to that area, it's a bit of an exaggeration. Though I'd like to see people in this area do something about the North Koreans. And there's a very interesting thing here, too, is that historically, the Japanese are not afraid of the Chinese. And historically, the South Koreans are not afraid of the North Koreans. And the United States has sort of lost its position in the world. It's declined a little bit because the unipolar, the double, the dupolar, as the world is now multipolar. They're trying to organize, these other nations to fight alongside it, to make this choice between Washington and Beijing. And, these nations, like South Korea and China and all the rest of them in that neck of the woods, they've been around thousands of years. They're not going to choose one side or the other. They're going to try to be a little more clever about it. So, look, it's an interesting thing that Biden's trying to put some runs on the board. The Chinese, of course, will balk at what's going on. And, of course, if someone like Trump or even Trump returns next year, this is all a waste of time.
Be very interesting to see how this all plays out. Joe Siracusa, as always, thank you for your analysis and your time.
Hey,